Folks, drama bin drama, Arab drama, ole drama, kila drama pamoja. Ay. For days now, the entire globe has been faced with a mystery of all mysteries. And indeed, it is a very important mystery to solve. And the mystery is simply this: where did this thing come from? There are many reasons why it is important to know the source. And of course, top on the list is that in future, you may be able to stop it. And another reason, you'll be able to conclusively silence conspiracy theories, which are increasing. And they're louder and louder by the day. One of the reasons why this crisis has a lot of conspiracy theories coming up every other day is because of the numerous telltale signs that tell us this thing must have been man-made, manufactured by human hands, and released by human hands. Now, before I go any further, I feel it is very important that I emphasize that this does not change much. In fact, it changes nothing. Yes, this thing is still there. It is dangerous. What governments are doing to contain it is the correct thing to do, etc., etc. Now I can hear you getting impatient. Come on, Chris, get on with the drama. Okay, let's get down to it. There is a small church in Long Beach, California, United States of America, called Soldiers for Christ Community Church. And a few days ago, its pastor, Pastor Sandy, made some mind-boggling claims. Now, what I've done is that I've taken a deeper look at what he said, and I've done some research. And what I can tell you is that if you want to call this a conspiracy theory, it is the most compelling conspiracy theory ever. And I kid you not. For starters, it explains very neatly a few mysteries surrounding this world crisis. And in my experience, when somebody gives you information that so neatly explains very many things, and the intention was not to try and convince you, then you need to pay attention. Because in most cases, you will find that there's an element of truth in what they're saying. Maybe everything they're saying is true. Now we're going to analyze thoroughly these claims. But before we do that, let's get rid of two major hindrances. Some of you may have heard, if you've already taken in this video, containing this sensational and yet compelling claims. Indeed, I believe after we take care of these two hindrances, you can be able to go back to this video and everything will make much more sense. You'll be able to understand much more about what is being said. And these two hindrances are as follows. Number one, what is the deep state? Number two, what exactly is 5G? Now, the definition of deep state, and I read, is a body of people, typically influential members of government or the military, believed to be involved in the secret manipulation or control of government policy. Simplified, wherever you have a center of power, a deep state is very likely to come into existence. Because power gets things done. Power can make you a fortune. That is, if you can manipulate it to go your way. Which would suggest that deep states have existed for as long as centers of power have existed. And let's illustrate this by going to a Bible story where I believe there was a deep state operating. And I'll keep it short, and I'll start by asking a question. How did John the Baptist get beheaded? There was a woman involved, a woman who had become a wife to the king. Illegally, of course, because she was somebody else's wife. And a woman cannot be married to more than one man. Although in some cultures, a man can be married to many women. And this woman did not like what John the Baptist was saying about her illegal husband. The king, he was especially talking about the relationship between her and the king. And one day, her beautiful daughter danced before the king, and the king was so impressed that he uttered some very careless words. Now, in those days, the king's word was law, even unto himself. And so the king asked her to ask for anything she wants, even if it touched on ownership to part of his kingdom. Things that could benefit her, and indeed her mother. But her mother told her to ask for the head of John the Baptist, which was something the king did not want to do. But since he had uttered the words, and his words were law, it had to be done. Now, something very similar has happened in very many African countries over the years. Members of a kitchen cabinet, maybe consisting of the president's wife, or close girlfriend, or mother, and relatives, mixed with advisors to the president. And in some instances, the president himself is not such a bad guy. He's not into too much bloodletting. But somebody somewhere says something. And women by nature, insults, or something resembling an insult cuts very deep into a woman, much more than it does to a man. And this woman is an influence, and therefore the inner circle, including the advisors, in this case the deep state in an African country, decide that that individual who only uttered those words, which most probably were true, should die. And it is a done deal. Deep state in an African country usually involves the intelligence service of that country, and maybe what I'd call the political police of that country. But at the end of the day, it boils down to individuals, influential individuals, who in most instances have a very close relationship with the president in that African country. Now, in big countries, developed economies like the United States, the deep state would usually involve members of the military, top brass, the CIA, etc., etc. Some certain people within these organizations gang up together to influence government policy in a certain direction for certain motives, sometimes selfish motives. Okay, very quickly, what is 5G? Now, some of us in Kenya have had the privilege of using 4G network. It is super fast. Now, in my view, 5G is much more than an upgrade of 4G. Now, just to give you a simple illustration, with 4G network, it is possible to support 100,000 devices within an area of 1 square kilometer. Now, that's a lot of devices. But with a 5G network over the same area, 1 kilometer square, you can actually be able to support, wait for this one, 1 million devices. But many people who understand this technology have not received this new technological breakthrough with joy. Many of them have expressed worry, concern, even panic. The problem with 5G is that it uses very high frequencies. And the effects of these high frequencies on the human body, is still more or less a gray area. It is unknown because this is a very new technology. However, there are people who have done studies which have shown that these high frequencies can actually be harmful to the human body. Bottom line, there's been a lot of controversies surrounding the 5G networks. But the super fascinating thing is that it seems those behind promoting this new technology are very powerful and very influential. So much so that many of these worries and concerns have been swept aside. And the technology has marched on to being launched in some parts of the world. People have been reassured that authorities will take care and enforce certain standards and certain precautions so that it is safe. But the concerns linger, and new research after new research comes out proving some of these concerns. Now, this next point is very important to take careful note of. In the recent past, the nation called China has claimed to have the largest 5G network in the world. They have more than 100,000 5G towers. I'll mention two other countries that have gone into 5G in a big way, and then it will all suddenly start to make sense to you. One of those countries is Italy. Another of those countries is Iran. 5G networks have also been installed in cruise ships. Now on to what Pastor Sandy said. He says that the information he got from people who have over 40 years experience working in the military and intelligence of the United States of America. These are not some crazy guys seated somewhere, building castles in the air and creating theories. These are people who know what they're talking about. Now, ordinarily, in any country, when in a certain position, by law, you're supposed to keep state secrets to yourself, not to reveal them to anybody else. But once in a while in history, the conscience of a person pricks them, and they decide to talk, to reveal what they know to others. And it seems in this particular case, this is what happened. So Pastor Sandy says that all these things started after the 9/11 attack in the United States. Remember 2001? The terrorist attack on the Twin Towers? And he says a group of 200 generals and Secret Service officers sat down, ganged up together, and said, enough is enough. If Pastor Sandy is to be believed, then this deep state has influenced a lot of crucial and critical decisions made in the United States since that time, since the year 2001. That is almost 19 years ago. We have had over 4 administrations in the White House, although some individuals have been re-elected for a second term. And Pastor Sandy says these people decided to cause a worldwide panic through some kind of pandemic. And this is how they were going to make that happen. First of all, they would use the 5G network to release very high frequencies in a place called Wuhan. Now, some experts, actually 26 scientists, warned that they should not do this. Why? Because the scientists predicted that if they did that, it would cause the population in that area to fall ill. And they would have flu-like symptoms. But these evil people still went ahead. Obviously, that is precisely what they wanted to happen. Because what happened next is that when these people fell ill and went to seek medical attention, they were given a flu vaccine. And this flu vaccine contained the coronavirus. And if Pastor Sandy is to be believed, that is how it all started. He also says the celebrities who have come out and said they actually have the coronavirus, the whole intention has been to make the public rush for tests. And when they rush for tests, you know what happens, according to Pastor Sandy? They're given the vaccine. It seems the whole idea here is to take over control and power in the United States at whatever cost. He also reveals that everything was speeded up in terms of this pandemic when 600 people who are working for this illegal deep state, this evil deep state, were recently arrested. And in response, these evil people speeded up the spread of the virus. We already know how it is being done. And I hope we all realize that immediately you infect one person, it's very easy for that person to spread the infection. Well, it is less easy now with the lockdowns going on all over the world. And Pastor Sandy finishes off with something very sensational. He says that President Donald Trump knows precisely what is going on, and he has resisted making a lot of decisions that these people wanted him to make. You know, it is possible for a deep state to be so powerful that it takes a leader hostage. That has happened in history many times before. And personally, I also find it super fascinating that many men of God told us that Donald Trump was a choice of God to be president of the United States. And personally, I'm now beginning to see some of those reasons for that choice of God Almighty. And so, the card that Trump has to play that will completely frustrate this deep state, these very powerful people, is that he could declare a state of emergency throughout the United States. Now, what that would mean is that the upcoming elections would be cancelled. And Trump would remain president for another 4-year term. Because he has declared a state of emergency. And therefore, constitutionally, we would find the reason to continue ruling for another 4 years without an election. Now, of course, this is not in the interests of these evil people. And therefore, hopefully, it'll all stop. Wah. I don't know what to say. And maybe I shouldn't say anything more. I've included a link in the description area of this video to that particular Pastor Sandy video. And I've also included a link towards the end of this video on the top right hand corner. I suggest you watch it. Leave me to digest all this, and then maybe we can discuss it some more in a future video. But I need to emphasize once again, what we have said in previous videos still stands. That God is involved. Because man schemes, God decides. And God can also use evil, which man has schemed, for his own good ending, or for his own purposes. Please review my previous video if you don't understand what I'm saying. I'll include a link on the top left hand corner at the end of this video, and also in the description area, so that we're all on the same page when we revisit this topic. Stay safe, don't panic. God is in full control, God Almighty, and His purposes and His will must be and will be done. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.